One of the best things about Salida is the community. With me today are two women directly impacting the Salida community in a positive way. Samantha Bahn and Deb Bass O'Brien, owners of the Book Club Salida, a bona fide woman-owned mountain town book peddler. The Salida Book Club was previously a pop-up business until they opened a brick-and-mortar bookstore at West 2nd in March of 2026. Filling a much-needed niche in the Salida community for not only books, but also a space for author visits, book clubs, children's books, and much more. In addition to the Salida Book Club, Samantha and Deb have both been public school educators in Salida for over 15 years, and both currently teach middle school at the Crest Academy. Thank you both for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So since I've got you both here, I'll just kind of let you each answer many of my questions. So I'll just kind of start from the beginning. Where I start with a lot of my guests is just your Salida origin story. What brought you to Salida and when? And I'll just start with you, Samantha, since you're right next to me here.
Okay. I moved to Salida in the summer of 2003 to work as a raft guide on the river. And I worked at Dvorak Expeditions. And then I went back to school to get my teaching license at Fort Lewis College in Durango. And in 2007, I got a job teaching 5th grade at Salida Middle School. And so then I moved here permanently, and I've been here ever since. I taught at the middle school for 10 years, and then I moved to Crest in 2017, I think. 2018.
Somewhere around there.
And I think that's it.
So you said 2003. So where were you before you moved here?
Before I moved here, I was in Washington, D.C.
Okay. So what drew you, because Salida was not very well known then, especially if you lived in D.C. So that's, what actually brought you here?
Long story short, okay. I spent my summers in Delaware working in a beach town and befriended a woman who went to Virginia Tech, and she was dating a professional kayaker. I did not know what that meant at the time. Yeah. And he was going to be on like a rodeo circuit in the summer. So he was going to be competing all over Colorado, and she was going to follow him out here. And she was like, do you want to join me to train as raft guides? And I didn't know what that meant really.
Oh, wow.
And so I just said yes.
That's a pretty big yes.
Yeah. We came and visited and fell in love. Like, I remember driving through Bighorn Sheep Canyon for the first time, driving across Kansas. We drove across the country to get here.
Wow.
And entering that canyon and just being completely amazed by how beautiful it was and how different it was than anything I had known before that. And I just really fell in love with the river. I really connected with that lifestyle and paddling and being on the water, and it just felt like something very natural to me. And so then I moved here, and for a while my parents were asking me like, when are you gonna I don't know exactly how they phrased it, but something like, are you done with that phase of your life yet? Meanwhile, 25 years later, and a husband and 2 kids and a house, here we are.
Yeah, so it doesn't seem like you're done with that phase, huh?
Yeah, I think that's a lifetime commitment.
The new normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And then what about you, Deb?
How did? Well, I've lived lots of places, but prior to being in Salida, I was in Laramie, Wyoming. I went to graduate school there, and then I was teaching for a little bit. And I had friends from grad school who were down here, so I'd been down a couple of times. I'd been through even before they had moved down here. And so then I ended up down here, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do for work, but I was like, well, I can at least sub or something. And then a position came open at the high school. So I started working at the high school, and this was in 2009.
Okay.
So, and funny story, I rented a house right next to Samantha.
Oh, really?
I didn't know her.
We lived next door to each other, and Deb's
D Street.
future and now current husband also lived on the same block with us.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So did you guys like become friends back then, or were you just kind of
Yeah, we
neighbors?
did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. so we knew each other, and since we were both teaching, and then we had other mutual friends, and we were in a book club
together. Which that book club still exists, although it has morphed quite a bit, but it
very
does still
different.
exist.
Yeah,
a very long lasting book
club. So then I was at the high school for a while. The transition from the old building into the new high school, and then I transferred over to the Crest Academy 11 and a half years ago or so.
Okay.
And then I was in multiple of those buildings as well. I think I'm in our third building, but now our permanent home for that. So I've just been teaching the whole time I've been here. I don't raft. I'll go on the river.
Okay.
But that wasn't necessarily. It's more just small town, being in the mountains. It's very similar to Laramie without the university.
Okay.
Just in terms of the feel and the people. And I went out to Bend, Oregon for a year to teach and left pretty quickly because it was a little too big and it was really hard to meet people. I didn't feel like the community, like I didn't have kids at that point or anything. And so, it was just really hard. Whereas Salida, I met people right away because there were just a lot of ways to meet people. You just keep running into people, and you finally, you introduce yourself, like, I've seen you everywhere, like, and so I think that kind of difference, I definitely, because when I moved out to Oregon, I moved back to Laramie to kind of regroup and figure things out, and then ended up coming down here.
Okay. So it was mostly the community feel that kind of drew you in to stay. Okay.
Yeah. And since it wasn't quite discovered yet either,
This was 2009, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was certainly before
a little different.
A lot of things
now. Yes.
So. And then, so you guys met, because that was one of my questions, you answered it already. So you guys met as neighbors, which is like the perfect Salida serendipitous story. I feel like when people come here, they just like find their people, and it just kind of like things just work out. So, was it 2009 you said you met? Pretty soon after? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because that was
we were
the first
neighbors,
place.
and
we were both working in the schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when did the idea of the Book Club Salida come about? When and how? That origin story. You can start. You look like you're about to say something, so I'll let you go first, Samantha.
That started because over the course of time, we both had kids, and we each have a 10-year-old, and they were at Longfellow, and I joined the Longfellow Parents Association, and then I joined Deb without asking her. And during our time on the board, the association had been using Scholastic books for their book fair, and we came across a couple of things with Scholastic that weren't our cup of tea. Namely, they were doing a diversity box of books, and that felt uncomfortable to us. So they were basically hiding or putting away books and leaving them as an option that were by BIPOC authors and other authors that they considered diverse, I guess.
So they were kind of like labeling them and setting them aside instead of just putting them in the mix with everything
else. And they're
else.
like, you can put this out if you want to, but you don't have to in your...
Okay.
So that felt uncomfortable to us, and we offered to host the book fair through a bookstore in Edwards, Colorado called the Bookworm. And so one blizzardy weekend, we drove up there and got the books and brought them back and hosted the book fair. And one thing kind of led to another of just access and like really born of like wanting our children to have access and culture and opportunity through books. And then it sort of became a bigger thing, I guess. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where when we did it with the bookstore, we're like, oh, we could do this, I bet. And so I don't know, I don't even remember exactly. It was like the next spring break, we were we had a meeting. I don't know why we were meeting or what. And then all of a sudden we're like on our computers and we're getting a business license.
Okay.
And we're just like, okay. Like, because we were coming up with ideas of things and we maybe we had already, no, I don't think we had already done that SBDC thing or not. I don't remember if it was after or before.
Yeah, I feel like it was after. It was like in May maybe.
Yeah.
We went and like built a business plan and
Oh, I see. And so got a little bit more organization behind it all. Okay.
And like, could this actually work? And what is our vision? Because it's a kind of a specific thing in a small town.
Okay.
Whereas like a big book franchise or something is already created. And then I think we were like, well, where are we going to do this?
Yeah.
And that's how the farmers market came up as like our first venue, essentially, because location and place is like the most difficult part.
Sure. Yeah, in our small town. So so when did you start doing the farmers markets? Was that a few years ago?
2 summers ago.
Okay.
2 summers of markets.
Okay. So you were kind of like sourcing books and through your connections and selling and just you're providing them to the community here and
yeah.
Was that kind of the primary idea originally, or?
We had lots of ideas. I'm
Okay.
sure if we like opened up our notebook, it was like we could do this and this and this
Yeah,
and this.
yeah.
And then we're like, but we shouldn't do all of it, you know?
Sure,
and it was like,
yeah.
what should we do and what kind of things can we do? You know, that was like, then the next step was figuring out like, well, which of these 25, 30, 40 things do we actually think we could do and should do?
Yeah. And so obviously you were kind of testing it at the farmers markets to see, you know, how it resonated with the community. And then what shifted into the brick-and-mortar that opened up earlier this year?
Well, part of it was when John closed in, I think it was September, when he closed Salida Books. You know, it was one of those things where people kept asking and we weren't, you know, like we teach full time and we still teach full time. So it was one of those things where it's like, we shouldn't, but the community needs it. And so we were like, you know, just kind of said, no, not yet. And then our friend Dolan, who has Rooster Pie, he said that we could use this space for a pop-up. So we did that in December, yeah, for the holidays. Like we were doing winter markets. It was our first year doing winter markets, and then we did some pop-ups there just to add, you know, holiday shopping type thing. And he was ending his lease because he couldn't both have retail and print because he does printing, and so then that space became available, and so we're like, okay, well, this is a chance. You know, like we have a space opportunity. The community is looking for this. Let's do that. And so that lease, you know, came available, you know, in February. But we knew like in January that we're, you know, signing that for February. So we were ready to go. And then we're like thinking, you know, that our spring break time would be that chance to kind of get it up and running, try out a couple of things when we had a week off. In between. So, yes,
cool.
Exactly. And then, like, you know, see how this will be our first summer, you know, so I think
so kind of like
different.
Fell into place for, you found the location, you saw the need. I mean, I feel like that's how a lot of businesses in this area begin is really seeing the need and then, you know, getting that impact or that input from the community and, then if you can get retail space, which is in this case right on West Sackett, like right around the corner from Sweeties and Biker and the Baker, and so what is that, like a block from the river? So it's a really nice location. And so tell us a little bit more about what you guys. I know you're selling books, but then there's other stuff that you guys are offering there too.
Yes, to backtrack a little bit, in Washington, D.C., where I grew up, there's an amazing bookstore called Politics and Prose. And there was a bookstore called the Cheshire Cat, which was a children's bookstore about 5 blocks from Politics and Prose. And I worked there in high school, and the owners of the Cheshire Cat sold, and they all worked or work at Politics and Prose now. And that bookstore is really a community staple, or kind of a community space. So it is a bookstore, but it's also a place where people hang out and meet and talk. And I think that ultimately is one of our most like important goals and missions of the business, is to have space for people to have conversation, and books are a way to engage in conversation and have a talking point and a place to start. And so something wonderful about our space in Salida, and our landlord, Lawton Eddy, who is a friend who owns the building, has been so lovely about this, is having it be a gathering place as well. And so people can come and hang out or sit. And we've been able to host book clubs there, which is really nice. And I think this space, like being a Salidan and loving where we live and the place that we live in, the space to me is really special because it used to be part of the brothels and the speakeasy.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. So Laura Evans, our madam, that was her spot, right?
Yeah. And she had like the speakeasy there, and I feel like there's a spirit there of like female-owned business.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah,
I love
like,
that.
Kind of being rebellious, not that I consider us rebels, but in a way, like having a pulse on the community. And everything I read about her, she really did. And like the police needed her, and community members needed her, and people needed her when they were sick. And she sort of had this pulse on what was happening downtown, regardless of people's morals or feelings about the businesses she was running. She was like a crucial part. And I just love that spirit of that place and where it's located downtown, and also being like neighbors with our friends who have other businesses there, like the Gartzmans and Subculture and all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to that part of just the gathering and having conversation. And one of the most fun parts about having the brick and mortar is meeting people, and then having people like teach us about what they're reading and authors they know, and learning about other books that we haven't heard of.
And then, because I know you support a lot of, because there's a good amount of local authors, it seems like.
Yeah.
For such a small town.
So many.
It's a pretty amazing. There's a lot of talented people in this town that I
Yes.
noticed. But yeah, just being able to get introduced to them and then have a space for them. And there's a lot of book clubs in Salida too. I'm a part of two. It sounds like you were in one for the past however many years that was.
A long time.
Over a decade. So that's pretty impressive. I'm glad you brought up the historical elements of that space, because it is really interesting. And you even carry a book that talks about more of the impact of Laura Evans, one of our local authors, the historian Steve Chapman has a book, many books about the history of Salida, and he does tours too, but just kind of talking about all of that. So
yeah, that's been really fun, and he's a great supporter, and we have all of his books, and he's back giving tours this summer, so that's really good to see him back out there. And he's so knowledgeable about Salida, and he comes by the building a lot and has shared many insights that you'll have to go on the tour.
Yeah, you'll have to go on the
learn.
tour. But your spot is one of the stops, right? Or pointed to, at least?
Yeah, he has been, I think he ends one of the tours at the like doorway that's just down or upstream of us, because that was the main entrance of the brothel.
Okay.
Yeah, and they were Larry Krabasik was in the other day as well, because they're selling calendars and like Salida calendars, and he was saying that the cribs were like across the street as well. So it's always fun, like when our history folk come in, and then they'll tell us more and have those conversations with us.
I read that those were taken down, I think, in 2015, but they were across the street from where you are. But yeah, it just, Salida has such a rich history, and it's so cool to even just have a business down there. And then you have people who have been here forever that can share those little tidbits with you. That's awesome. And then a little bit more on a personal note, since you guys are both educators, I just wanted to get your insights on having a family, raising kids in Salida, just as a whole. What would you say to somebody who's thinking of moving here or has kids here and,
I would say, no, you don't want to come here.
Yeah. If you come here, come in a positive way. Yeah.
I think it's the best place. I mean, I always used to like joke around like I'm in like a relationship with Salida. Like Salida's like my boyfriend,
So be nice to your boyfriend,
yeah,
right?
But no, I just think it's like the amount of independence that our own kids and our students can have here in a really safe, positive, nurturing environment is unprecedented. I think my sister lives in Philadelphia and she comments on that a lot, as well as the fact that as adults we all continue to make friends. I think that's unusual and kind of like what Deb was touching on earlier about being in a bigger place. Like, it's an amazing thing as an adult to be able to meet new people and become friends with people on such a regular basis.
Yeah.
And so I think just, living in a place where your kids can bike downtown and meet up with friends and go get ice cream on their own and have interactions with adults, I think is just incredible. And it's so lovely here. And I think our schools are wonderful as well. We have amazing educators. We have like really supportive staff, and the principal of our school, Christy Service, I'll just give her a shout out, is amazing. So I'm all in. I mean, I've been here for 25 years. So
Yeah,
I'm not leaving, and I don't plan to. And I'm really proud that my kids are like Salidans. They were born here, being raised here, and I just think it's just an amazing, very special place.
Yeah, it's interesting because that question came up to us the other day. A friend had text us, a younger friend, had text us about, were your kids born at the hospital? And we're like, yeah, and it's at such a great place, like we are so lucky. I think a lot of people sometimes like, well, I'll just go back to Denver or Frisco and but I was like, oh, it was like easy, just the space was like comforting and stuff. But the same thing, it's like, the freedom that our kids have, like when they were younger, and even just like not having to commute ever, it's like sometimes I'm bummed because I don't get to listen to as many podcasts or as many books, but at the same time I'm like, I love it because I can just like zip over and help transport a kid or do something like that. Or it's like you just go, and then like in the winter I'll pick them up because it gets dark, but like they just can get themselves. And we're both really lucky because we bought our houses at a good time where we are right in town. Yeah. And so
which
it is
more
nice
at a premium.
Yes, exactly. But it's, that luxury with the kids is really nice because they have that. And we're excited about the shop too because the kids can stop in if we're working and then check in with us. And, that's kind of the fun of that as well, as like a meeting place that the kids can kind of know where they're, where we are, and that check-in as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a degree of free-range kids in the summertime in the downtown area for sure. When at a certain age, where they can just kind of like bike around or skateboard around or whatever and then pop in. I see that quite a bit. And how lovely is that,
It's awesome.
And because it is still a small enough town, a lot of people know each other. We recognize each other. We look out for each other's kids and just each other. I've heard of a lot of examples of, like, hey, I saw your kid, going this way. Did you so there's just, a sense of community there of keeping, looking out for each other. Well, let's see, what else didn't I ask you about the store that you feel like would be important to point out that, because I guess a better way of phrasing that question is, what are your plans? So, this is your first summer. This is the first time it's going to be open more regularly, right? Because it was mostly just on the weekends before, and really you just got started out. So what are you hoping for this summer and your plans for just in the next year?
I think we're excited for the store to kind of just be like a staple almost, where you're like, oh, I'll swing by Chill and get an ice cream, or I'll pop over to Topo and get a coffee. So something where it's like just part of the downtown vibe. We have a lot of authors coming this summer, which is really exciting, and authors are reaching out to us, which is a lot of fun. And just like really keeping our inventory flowing. We're being pretty particular about like having a great flow of new books, just moving a lot, so we have new stuff all the time. And our used book market is huge. People are really excited about used books, especially like classics have made a big comeback, which is fun to see. And
our youth books is like a big thing. You know, we have new and used, and being able to curate that, like having our own kids and being around kids and just knowing
what they like.
And knowing what authors are exciting. And
we're also offering a summer camp for rising 5th through 9th graders, and we're going to try that out. We know that people need camps in the summer, and we wanted to help like diversify the options of camps that people have. So we're trying a camp out at the end of July, which is exciting, and we're going to read and write and nature journal and draw and move around downtown a little bit. So we'll see like how that goes and what we can offer in the future with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That seems like a good fit for you guys, being educators and the bookstore.
Yeah,
like combining that. And it seems like you would have a good pulse on, you know, what is in need for kids in general. So for the author events, are those just kind of like book signings that are happening in the evenings, or like where can people learn more information about those events?
On our website.
On your website. But
but we are having quite a few, so some of it's book clubs, like so if an author's coming, we have 2 book clubs in June.
Oh, cool.
So that's kind of exciting, where people can get the book ahead of time, read it or not, that's okay too. And then come have discussion with the author.
Oh, cool.
And those are smaller, more intimate, rather than like a book reading or a book
okay.
You know. And then there's book signing as well, like when the shops open those days, 3 to 5, like a little book signing, and then a book club not open to the public, you know,
I
like
see. So they
just
get
like
a little more intimate with the author.
Yeah, it's like right now our book clubs are usually like $35, and you get a book and discussion and snacks, you know. So that's kind of what we've tried to curate with that. So
those are fun because then people are choosing the book that they're excited about and the author that they want to meet. And so the discussion is really fun. Like this weekend we have Sue Norman coming, and she was like one of the first female Olympians in whitewater kayaking. And she has an amazing story about adopting her brother's son. And so the people that have signed up for that are river people, and they're really curious about her river journey. And her book is about like skills she learned on the river that have helped her with her personal journey. And so that's just going to be like, for me especially, I'm really excited to have conversation with that group. And last summer we did an event with local author Ben Goldfarb, who wrote Eager, which is a book about beavers, and he took all of the participants on a walk to a beaver complex and educated them at the beaver complex. And then we had a dinner, and he gave an amazing talk. And so it can go from small to big. Something also that we haven't really talked about, but we have some really neat partnerships with other community organizations. So with public health, the Salida Library, Away Retreats. We did our first reading retreat, and we have another one coming up in November in Oaxaca, Mexico. So that's really exciting.
Tell us more about that. That's cool.
Well, Away Retreats is an amazing business owned by Lindsay Eldridge, and I met her because her daughter and my son were in the same kindergarten class.
Okay.
And she runs retreats all over the world with different themes and focuses, like from wellness to just hanging out. So she offered us to run a reading retreat through her business, which we did outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico, and we had a local author of that area come during the retreat, and it was wonderful. And then she offered us another opportunity to do a retreat in Oaxaca this November. So it's going to be a culinary and reading retreat. So We're going to do a mole cooking class. We're going to do a mezcal tasting, and we have some books that pair with that theme.
Cool.
So the community partnerships is also like a big part of our business. We're planning some stuff with public health that'll be coming out soon that we're really excited about, 2 book clubs in 2026. And then also with Salida High School, there's going to be another partnership.
We've
and
done
the
a
library, we love working with the library, so it's been really nice to have those, the ability to have those bigger book clubs where we can have the small intimate ones at the store, but have the bigger community ones about a specific topic with these partners that can help us run them and get a bigger venue and have food and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And cool. Then ways that like we can help with, using our mailing lists, and we have also with the poetry group as well, partnering with them.
The Salida Poetry Steak is their name.
Yeah. To
name.
kind of help like share what's going on. They share what we're doing, we share what they're doing, things like that. And then having some of the local poets' books in our shop as well. So a place that people can buy it that's not just at the events that they're having. They always do like readings at the solstices and the equinox. They usually have events around that. But we were talking about with some of the local poets, even like, do we put a little platform out front and they can read poetry in front of the shop and do some, what are some fun things that we can kind of work together and do for that as well.
I love that. So you guys are partnering. I love the community involvement and just, how it's all interconnected with so many different facets in our community. So
we're excited. Yeah, because we're also, and then we're partnering with like Garna. They have an author coming in, and the Humanists as well.
Okay.
That's going to happen in July, and so the Humanists are doing that book for their book club, so we'll help provide that space for them and things like that we're working on.
Like, all these. Your fingers are in a lot of little pots out there. I love it.
A lot.
And for all the personal book clubs, it's hard to get your house clean and kick your family out to host your book club.
It really is. Yeah. I know. We have kind of like a rotation in one of my book clubs, and I never host because I have a little kid. And I'm just like, sorry.
Absolutely.
So we'll have to keep that in mind. Then.
Yes, please do. Yes.
Well, thank you for being such a good part of the community and just filling this need that we truly had, because like you said, Salida didn't have a book store for a while, and then just the integration with the community piece is really key, that it's not just, you're not just walking in and buying a book, there's just a lot more to it. You were gonna add something.
Well, and so it's that part, and I'll give a shout out to my husband, Ryan O'Brien, because he built all of our bookshelves that are in there. So also, like, sometimes it smells like fresh paint in there. But also it's just that idea where it just has like a feeling to it that is not even homey, because it's elegant in a lot of ways as well. But it's that idea too where it's a space that you're just like, oh, I want to keep walking back into here. He's finishing up, hopefully very soon, our kids area as well, because he built some, it looks like a tree house, but it's in the same colors as the bookshelf, so everything kind of comes together and has like little nooks, because we both grew up with bookstores that had little spaces for kids. We remember being in those spaces and reading books in them, and so we wanted to have that as well for it.
Make it like a special place for a kid to pop in. So if you're walking around, certainly in the summer when F Street is blocked off, you just turn a little corner and you can just pop in.
You got to park over by us.
There you go. That's true. You probably do need to park in that direction. Because I know that's actually serendipitously when I popped in the store as when I saw you, Samantha. I was with my son and we were headed over to Sweetie's, and it was like, oh, it's let's have you guys on the podcast. So it just I love that. And it's kind of, I feel like that's a good way of how things happen in Salida.
Absolutely. Yeah, I loved that day because I had just been talking about your podcast 2 days before it had come up in conversation. I think you and I were talking about it.
I think it was like that the day before. No, it was that day you were like, I'm going to get in touch and find out. And then you came in the store and she was like,
walked in
she came in today.
I just knew. Yeah. Because you have, some books set out on the sidewalk and it is, just very inviting. So it's a great space. Well, thank you for all that you do for the community and for taking the time to talk with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.